How to improve productivity in your business? We're going to answer that question in this video. All right, let's talk about this because productivity is literally going to affect your bottom line every day, every week, every month, and every year. If you can't get a grasp on the productivity of your people, of your business, there's a good chance that maybe you won't make any money, and even worse, you might go out of business. But the good news is there's ways to improve it. There's ways to track it. So here's how you improve it. You got to take a step back. You first got to figure out how to document it, right? How to keep track of all this productivity that you have going on. So in some of my businesses, with my managers or some of my staff members, if they're working remote or I'm not able to interact and see what they're doing, I ask them to actually send me a daily report at the end of the day. Because I want to see for that 8 or 9 or 10 hour workday, whatever they work, I'd like to see what they accomplished. I mean, what if they sent me a report they didn't do anything? Well, that means they're not producing anything. What am I paying them for, right? So you got to be able to not only get that information, but you have to have the ability to take the time and analyze it, right? And look and say, well, geez, that wasn't working. Let's try this. Or why did it take them 6 hours to do a task that in my mind should only take 30 minutes or an hour, right? And we're not always right when we make these assumptions, but you'd be surprised if you're smart and you understand your business, you've probably already done those things. So you know, and you say, wait a second, that person's probably just milking the clock or not working productively, probably, I don't know, watching a movie or listening to changing music like every 30 seconds. Something's going on that's not making them productive. So daily reports from staff members, especially now during COVID-19, I mean, when this is all going on, if you're the general manager, you're the owner of a business, and you've got people working remotely, you've got to get data from them. You've got to get those daily emails and you've got to analyze them. And you got to look them over and you got to say, well, wait a second. We've got to make changes here because if you continue to do this, I can't afford to pay you what you're making because you're not producing. It's that simple. I mean, if you're not going to have somebody making you enough money to even pay for themselves, they're actually losing you money, right? You got to get rid of them. It's simple business 101. It's common sense. And I know it sounds much easier than it is, but once you've hired these people and you've gotten used to them and you like them and you enjoy working with them, you know, it's not super easy just to be like, oh, I'm just going to let them go or whatever. So that's super important. So the short answer to, you know, how do you improve a business? You can do it through several ways. You can do it through, you know, creating processes and systems that basically are based off of, say, data. So you've run reports. I'll use, for example, like my trading card business. I remember back in the day when we used to like open packs of baseball cards and we'd want to build a complete set, right? Say there'd be 500 cards in a set or something like that. Well, we'd go through and we'd say, okay, the smartest way to do it is we would alphabetize every single player by name. So we put all the A's in a pile, all the B's. Maybe we would do first name or last name. It didn't matter. We'd put all the A's, B's, A through Z, and we'd have it all laid out. And I remember when we would sort cards, there was this one guy that would take a stack of cards and he would sit there and he would like pull all the A's out. He'd go through the entire pile and only pull the A's. And then he'd go back through the entire pile of cards and only pull the letter B. And he'd have to go through all 26 letters of the alphabet. This stack of cards he'd have to go through over and over and over and over. And obviously, as he trimmed it down, it would get lower, but still, we timed it. And this guy was taking like 3 times longer to sort cards the way we had figured it out, and that was by putting them into piles alphabetically, and then eventually, you know, obviously you'd put them in order. And then in baseball cards, a lot of the most of the sets are numbered, so you'd flip them over on the back, they'd have a card number, so we would sort them, say, by card number. So the cards that were numbered 1 through 99 would go in this pile, and then, you know, 100 through 199 would go in this pile, and so on. And then we would break those down into, say, stacks of in the tens. So cards, you know, number 1 through 9, 10 through 19, and so on. And then you would build the set. And we figured out that was the fastest way that we could do it. Nowadays, you've got companies that are trying to invent these robots that sort cards, but that's still into the works, and they're still working on how to perfect that. But we're talking about back in the days. But this is important because this is a very good example about productivity. Let's say you had a big trading card business. We've got a pretty good size one here in the Midwest in Kansas City. Well, if you had a bunch of people opening packs and sorting cards, and they were doing it the way that one guy did, I gave you the example where he's just going through every stack over and over and over just for one letter, it's going to take you probably 3 times longer. So your labor costs to do the same job is going to be about triple. Wow. I mean, that might not even be worthwhile. You're probably losing money doing what you're doing, right? So it's vital for your business's bottom line at the end of the year that you gather the right data, whether it's timing, how long it takes to sort baseball cards or whatever, and then adjust and find better ways to improve so that it doesn't take as long. Now, there's certain people, obviously, that you're going to hire that no matter what you do, they just don't work hard. They don't work fast. They don't work efficiently. One idea kind of comes to mind. I'll never forget this. I had a guy working for me years back, and every time we would get in a shipment, this person would grab a case of cards and walk them, 50 feet or whatever, to go put them on the shelves where they're supposed to go. And so if we got like 30 cases in or 50 cases in, he'd make 30 trips or 50 trips back and forth. Meanwhile, there's this gigantic heavy-duty dolly that's sitting probably 5 feet away from where all these cases got delivered. So rather than like taking the time to just stack them real quickly on the dolly and dollying it over in one trip and unloading it, he thought he should make 30 or 50 trips back and forth. And so I finally pulled him aside and I was like, hey, I got a question for you. We bought this dolly for a reason. Is there any reason you're not using it? Oh, I just rather just, get the exercise. I'd rather just get the workout. If I remember correctly, that was the reason. He wanted to use the exercise. Like I like the steps or whatever. And I said, wow, well, we got to talk about that because here's the problem. Well, that's great. And I do want you to get your exercise in the day. You're costing this company a lot of money and especially our productivity. You could do this in a third of the time, a fourth of the time, and then you could be on to another task that's helping us make money, right? But you'd rather just kind of do this at your own pace. Well, here's the thing you got to understand as the business owner, as say you're a manager of a department or whatever. It's your responsibility to catch that and to fix it. Because the first time it happens, the second time it happens and you don't notice it, well, that's one thing. But then when you finally notice it, if it's not being fixed, that's your problem. It's your fault and it's going to cost you money. And if you're working for a company, it could cost you your job, especially if a higher up really found out and looked down and said, what are you doing? How long have you had these people working just in this fashion to where they're not being super productive or whatever? And you could get in trouble for it. But when you own your own business, that's your money. So you're looking at it and saying, wow, I wonder how much money that's cost me because I thought I had to hire somebody else to do these other tasks when actually I didn't need to do that. This single guy or gal could have done that if they just would have been more productive. They could have done all the moving of all the boxes and they could have sorted cards or they could have listed stuff on eBay or whatever so they're not being efficient. So my rule of thumb is if I find somebody that I can't mold them the way that I want to mold them. I mean, you do your best to. Some people just aren't trainable. They're just not willing to change. They're insubordinate. It's just how it is. The best thing to do is just to throw those fish back into the unemployment pool. Just let them go back and let some other company hire them. But the last thing you want to do is just endlessly just keep trying to change somebody that doesn't want to change. They just want to be lazy. They want to be lackadaisical. They want to work at their slow pace. That's just how they are. That's how some people are, and you can't change that. So my recommendation would be to cut that cord as quickly as possible. So don't let those people that are billing you by the hour or charging you a hefty salary, making it seem like they're doing a lot of work, make sure you're keeping tabs and watching and that they're actually doing work that's making you the money that you need to justify, obviously, paying them in their salary. I was talking about eBay a bit ago, and one idea comes to mind when we talk about productivity. They had this program. So another short answer is program. So let's go back to the original question, how to improve productivity. The right programs will do that. So I remember we're one of the original eBayers. I mean, I think we registered in the late 90s and, eBay came out in 95 or 96. So we were one of the early adopters for eBay. And back in those days, if you wanted to list something, you would get on there and it would take you like 15 or 20 minutes to fill out all the fields and you'd do the different fonts and the pictures and everything and you would list it. And then if you wanted to list another item, you'd have to start over from scratch, right? That's just kind of how it was done. And then over the years, of course, they developed programs like Turbo Lister, which allows you, it's kind of like a spreadsheet. You pop it up and you fill out all the fields and then you upload everything kind of all at one time. So I remember when that program first came out, how much time it saved us. It was like off the charts. It was insane. And so the right programs themselves can significantly improve the productivity of your business. It's unbelievable. So make sure with whatever you're doing, get online and check to see what software, what programs exist, what apps. There's a lot of apps that do stuff. Check to see what's out there. You'd be surprised how much stuff will trim down the amount of time it takes to do the same task, much less time, whatever, so you don't need as much labor. So Turbo Lister is a great example. And then, eBay in particular, they even changed like their edit tools. So you can go into like the back end of your eBay account and when you're looking at your active listings, they've got all these check boxes and you can like do mass edits and things like that. So again, programs, systems, processes, data, managing people the right way. These are all significant ways to improve your productivity. And if you don't improve it, you may still make money and you may be happy with that. But why throw any money away, right? You don't have to be a slave driver, but why throw that money away when you can simply get people to work at a little bit of a faster pace or a little bit more efficiently here or there? I think that's extremely important because as the years stack on, you're going to realize when we start talking about the times 1,000 rule, how much that's going to affect you in weeks and months and years and things like that. And then if you get into hard times, maybe you didn't save up enough money and that could have been prevented had you have improved your productivity in your business. So anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. If you liked it, please click the subscribe button below. Make sure to comment if you like what I did. If you want to know any other topics, if you have questions, feel free to let me know. I'm going to try my best to keep delivering. So remember, keep pushing, keep trying your hardest, and be the hustler.